Welcome to this forum for the Bloomfield Hills School Board election. Today is September 16th, 2024. This forum will be featuring 4 of the 7 candidates who have filed for the Bloomfield Hills School Board. Vote for 3 for a 4-year term. The sponsor of this forum is the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. I am Kevin McLogan, a member of the League of Women Voters. I am not a resident of this district. The League of Women Voters is a trusted national nonpartisan political organization. Our members do hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keep our community strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have the opportunity to contribute in a leadership role such as this one that has a great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you are interested in learning about how you can make a similar impact, I would encourage you to pick up some of the League's information available here tonight or visit our website at lwvoa.org. And it's not limited to women, obviously. The League of Women Voters does not endorse any candidate or political party. Views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and the sponsors take no responsibility. The format of this forum has been established by the League of Women Voters. At this time, we ask that the audience remain silent during the forum. Please turn off your cell phones. Let's turn them all down. Great. We ask the candidates answer the question with their views only and not interrupt another candidate. The questions are asked to all candidates and do not single out any one candidate. This presentation is copyrighted 2024 by the League of Women Voters. Again, this presentation is copyrighted 2024 by the League of Women Voters. All rights are reserved. All candidates will be answering questions submitted by the audience and screened for duplication and appropriateness by Maria Willison and Cindy Peltman. Can you guys raise your hands? And Marie Donegan. Pages, Ginny Abbott and Jerry Rinchler. They will be circulating with paper and pencils for your questions. Please turn your questions into the pages. The format is as follows. All candidates will be given 1 minute for opening statements in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be 1 minute in reverse order. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question in rotation unless extended by the moderator. All candidates will be allowed equal time to answer questions. Our timer is Belinda Friss. So pay attention to her sign. She's going to give you a 15-second warning and then stop. Please stop when she raises the stop sign. The candidates appearing tonight are Jason R. Abel, Yvonne I. Renicky, Bryn Stevenson, and Jonathan Van Gemert. Also on the ballot, but not here tonight, is Lindsay Baker. She could not be here, but she sent the statement that I'll read at the end of the candidate introductions. Siva Kumar called us today and said that he is withdrawing from the race. He may still appear on the ballot. We're not sure about that. And Michelle Southward, she's not in attendance and did not submit a statement. We will begin with the 1-minute opening statements with Mr. Abel. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight. My name is Jason Abel, and I appreciate this opportunity to talk a little bit about who I am and why I'm running for the Bloomfield Hills School Board. In terms of my Bloomfield history, I am a graduate of the district. I graduated from Andover in '94, and I've had the privilege and joy of having 2 of my children graduate from the district as well, with my youngest a junior in the high school. I've also been a district volunteer for decades. I've coached youth soccer, FIRST Robotics, volunteered as a Cub Scout pack leader. I've helped out with numerous multicultural festivals, and I've also worked on several school district policy working groups and task force, like the Anti-Bullying Policy Task Force and the Buildings Needs Task Force. Through our family's Bloomfield journey and mine, I've seen the passion and professionalism of our teachers and staff, as well as the amazing diversity and talents of our students, and I'm looking forward to being a voice for all of them if elected to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Yvonne?
Again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters Oakland area.
Move towards the mic a little bit.
Okay.
There you go.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, Oakland area, for hosting this. It's nice to be able to have a platform to hear and be heard. My history is 44 years as a high school teacher. My kids went K through 12 in this district. We've seen some evolution in the school, but their needs were met far and above what we expected, and they thrived in the community. And one of the draws was the multi-ethnicity of the area, and I love that that is included in everything they have done. When we return to Michigan, my daughter had a bad experience because at 3 she was reading at 7th grade level. They didn't know what to do with her. We brought her to Bloomfield, and they picked.
Thank you. Bryn?
Hi, I want to thank the League of Women Voters of the Oakland area for the important work you're doing. Thank you for hosting us tonight. My name is Bryn Stevenson. I have a degree in legal administration from the University of Detroit Mercy. I've worked as a non-attorney with many years at Dickinson Wright, and then I was at Clark Hill before that. My unique work experience in navigating complex, multifaceted problems with competing interests lends itself to the education environment. I have an executive MBA from the Michigan State University Eli Broad School of Business. I am also vice president of the Bloomfield Hills Robotics 501c3, where my husband and I both serve as robotics coaches. Our children attend Conant and South Hills, and I have a child who receives special education services within our district. There are a lot of wonderful things about our schools. However, I think we can do better. Many of us voted for change by electing our current school board, and probably like many of you, I feel the change has not been substantial enough. Rather than remaining on the sidelines, I want to be part of the solution, and I'm willing to do the work.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Sure. My name is John Van Gemert. I've been on the board since January 1st of 2021. Originally ran for the board when I found out that Mark Bank was not going to run again, and I ran because I thought that he was pragmatic and a calming influence over the board. And I think within the last 4 years, we've had boards that have kind of calmed down the rhetoric at the top. Further things about me, I have 3 kids in the district, one at the high school, one at North Hills Middle School, and one at Eastover Elementary School. My wife has been a teacher in the district since 2005, generally social studies. And the reason I'm running again is that we just hired a new superintendent, and has been a lot of change at the top with multiple superintendents, and I want to be here to see it through and show some consistency for the district. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now I'm going to read the statement from Lindsay Baker. She says, "Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay Baker, and while I am unable to attend tonight, I would like to introduce myself and invite you to reach out to me and learn more. I am the mother of 5 children. My oldest child started in the district 12 years ago, and I now have children at the high school, middle school, and elementary school levels, along with a newborn who will attend Bloomfield Hills schools in the future. I earned a master's and doctorate degree in economics from the U of M, and my undergraduate degree is from Princeton University. I work as a professional economist in the automotive industry. There is a great opportunity for positive change in our district as we move forward with a new superintendent, having almost completed the bond investment in the new buildings and configurations. Filling these 3 board seats with professionals who have different perspectives and skill sets is critical to our success. I am data-driven and formally trained to research and problem solve. My education background and professional experience, as well as strong parental involvement, will bring a unique and valuable perspective to the board." Okay. That was pretty much it anyway. So, okay, let's start with the first question. We're going to start with Jason. And there's 2 questions here. I'm going to kind of combine them. How do you view the role of a school board member, and what unique uniquely qualifies you to be an effective school board member?
So the role of the school board member is pretty much established by statute and practice. It's our job to establish policy for the district and to work with and supervise the superintendent. Policy being a very important and key issue, because what I think I bring to the table as a potential board member is the ability to put together strategic plans and policies that have SMART goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Not just goals that are aspirational, but goals that actually require accountability and that you can actually, at the end of the day, make a determination whether they're right or wrong. As a professional, I am an attorney. Being a lawyer is my profession, but my passion is problem solving. And I've had the opportunity and privilege to work with tens, if not hundreds, of companies putting together strategic plans that work and at the end of the day accomplish the goals that we set off, and that's critical to the school board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
I think the role of a school board member is to hire and evaluate superintendent, which was done recently, to review the curriculum and see to the budgets and everything that is done in the district. And I think as a board member, having taught a variety of subjects, I have seen, and having had board experience in a previous state, I have seen these things in action. And I look forward to being able to do that here.
Okay, thank you. Bryn?
So the role of a board member is to oversee the superintendent, to draft district policies, operate under the bylaws that they operate, and then fiscal responsibility for our taxpayers, that the tax spend is a good return on investment for our students. So I think we desperately need some culture change in our school district, and I think we have the perfect opportunity for that with the new superintendent that we have here. And what I bring to the table to be able to lend myself to that is my work experience is interfacing with lots of varying points of view, varying education levels, and being able to bring everyone together to find solutions that work for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan?
Sure. The role of a school board member is to be a member of the team of 8. So there's the 7 board members and the superintendent. As a part of that team, the team works together to oversee policy and to oversee how the school district's dollars are spent and how they're aligned to our vision and our mission. And then the secondary role is would be the hiring of the superintendent, which we just completed, and hopefully we don't have to do again for several years. I think we made a good choice at the superintendent position, and I'm excited to get to work with the new superintendent towards the strategic plan that kind of fell off the radar over the last year or so as we were working to get a new superintendent.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start the second question with Yvonne. What would you do if your neighbor told you that their child was being bullied at school?
It would depend, of course, on the circumstances. I would encourage them to go to the school and identify, what has happened and ask for help. I had to do that on an occasion, and the school was very accommodating and very understanding. That would be my advice. Not to complain to others, but go to the school.
Okay, thank you. Bryn?
So I would definitely lend a listening ear. I often advocate for others, and so I would encourage the person to reach out to their school. Have they talked to the teacher about what's happened? Have they reached out to the office to talk to the principal? What was the response? Was it something of value? If they, sometimes there can be a tendency to receive silence back when you are reporting issues, and I wouldn't let up, and I would encourage that person not to let up. And our elementary schools have programs like the peer-to-peer programs that are in all of the elementary schools, and we should be, advertising that and having that be well-known so people can join in, and we should be expanding those services into middle school and high school. And so that's what I would do. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Jonathan?
Similarly, I think lending an empathetic ear is always the first thing to do, and then just addressing what pathways they can take. Have they talked to the other child's parents? Have they talked to the teacher? Have they talked to the principal? And then direct them, if they've taken all those steps, to direct them further up the chain of command, which would ultimately end with potentially a conversation with the superintendent if that particular problem had not been resolved by any of the people prior. There is the chance that there's a policy issue at stake, bullying, takes many forms, and perhaps there's something at the board level that could be done, but I would encourage the person to take all the intermediate steps before the board would get involved.
Okay. Jason?
I would echo the other candidates in that the most important thing to start off with is listening and asking questions. But we do have an anti-bullying policy in place, and so I think the next step would be to kind of direct them and lead them to the appropriate people to talk to initiate that policy. It has both punitive and restorative practices, so it is designed to try to address root cause issues and not just punish students. But at the end of the day, I'd like to be able to say I believe that anti-bullying policy works, but I think it's really important that we get the data from the district as to the number of incidents, what was done, so we can determine whether or not there are truly critical issues impacting the students that the policy doesn't address. And one of the things I think we must do, and the board members must do, is they must revisit that policy every year with the data to see if it needs to change and evolve to the current needs of our students and their mental health issues and concerns.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is we're going to start with Bryn. Do you think the schools should continue to support diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives?
I 100% absolutely support that. I think it's absolutely necessary for the success of our kids for us to support those. I think we need to have a culture where we're fostering allyship. I believe that we should be advocating for a culture of inclusivity. We need diversity in our staff so that our children, when they go to school, that they see people who look exactly like them, and that those are people in positions of authority. We need to create opportunities to listen and learn from others. We have this great portrait of a learner in our district that we tailor for children, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity for staff and for parents to learn that portrait of a learner, and that we need to listen what others have to say, not just from the most vocal people, but we need to purposefully take steps to include even the smallest of voices. I think it's important that we believe people who tell us things that have happened instead of discounting because that's never happened to us, or we would never do that.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan?
During my 4 years on the board, we drafted the district's mission and the district's vision. Those two statements encompass DEI. I would continue to support diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think this question, 1 minute probably doesn't encompass all the things I could say about it, but I think people get confused about what diversity is and what it means, and I'll maybe just go in on diversity with the time that I have left, but it encompasses diversity of thought, diversity of religion, ethnic background, lack of religion. And I think that our schools do a good job of listening to all voices, but I think it's something that always needs to be on, always needs to be pushed forward so that we're mindful of that, that we're mindful that we continue the initiative even when we think it's, working well. So.
Jason?
As Yvonne mentioned in her opening, diversity is one of the great strengths of this district. It's one of the reasons why my family moved here originally and why we moved back again from New York. We've had fantastic celebrations of diversity over the years, the multicultural celebration, and it's been an incredible journey, but there's also been some setbacks. We have issues in the community where at times there's a lack of cultural competency and an understanding of what the minefields are when having conversations with students and staff on the really difficult issues that impact our society as a whole. Our teachers do a fantastic job for years of addressing those issues, but sometimes our policies are not aligned with enhancing cultural competency and enhancing discussion, and that's been a problem. One of the things we need to do is put policies in place that establish guardrails that make our teachers, our students, and our communities feel safe in having those discussions and having those celebrations.
Okay, and Yvonne?
Yes, I believe that the diversity is one of the strong points in the community, and it's why we gravitated to this part of Michigan when we returned. And as the kids were going through the school district, K through 12, all of their friends and all their activities looked like, kind of like mini United Nations, and there was just not a distinction between them and each other of any kind. And it was exciting to see the acceptance and the love, all based on the content of the character and not the color of the skin. So yes, diversity, equity, inclusion should definitely be taught, demonstrated, exampled by the faculty, by the staff, and the kids understand that this is the kind of behavior that is acceptable and proper.
Okay, thank you. Next question, we're going to start with Jonathan. And why don't we make this a 30-second question? It's kind of a brief answer. So the Michigan Association of School Boards offers an extensive training for Board of Education members. Would you commit to participating in these classes? Why or why not? And we're going to go 30 seconds on this one.
Of course. The MASB courses are great courses. There's several that you can take online, so you don't have to go to Lansing. You can do them right from your home, and it's just helpful to learn what you need to do as a board member. And I encourage anyone who wins to take as many courses as they can.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
Absolutely. When I first announced my candidacy, Howard Barron, who's in the audience, actually reached out, and I met with him at the Bloomfield Hill School Library, and he pointed me in that direction, and I went home and started reading and watching. I think it's a unique and very useful resource to kind of guide how school boards work and what a good school board candidate and member looks like.
Okay, Yvonne?
Yes, I would definitely want to do that. Just like any other job that we've had to undergo training and direction, and I don't think this would be any different. I appreciate all the information I could get to make valid decisions.
Okay, thank you. And Bryn?
Yes, so I actually have already thumbed through many of the resources that they have online and watched some of the courses. I sat for a session they had on running for the school board and what the whole timeline looked like and what a good quality candidate brings to the table. And so I've done that, and I absolutely would continue to sit for additional classes.
All right, very good. So we're going to go back to a minute Jonathan, Jason, we're going to start with you. And should the district increase its 0.7 mil sinking fund millage when it's up for renewal in 2026? That'll be while all of you, if you're successful, you'll be on the board at that time. Why or why not?
It's a very difficult question because financial responsibility and fiduciary obligation to the community is critical to that decision. And I think the school board, in order to justify a millage increase, is going to have to explain how the resources to date were used effectively and efficiently. That being said, I know from hearing discussions and being part of discussions that a lot of the resources that we need to improve on in the district when the last millage came through were budgeted based on the cost of construction at that time. And cost of construction has just gone up and up and up, as we all know, with inflation and other things. So yes, if it is needed and we can establish that we've used the money wisely and can prove to the community that we will take care of what needs to be done and we will do so efficiently and effectively, I'd absolutely support it. But again, it goes back to the community, and we need to show that we use the resources wisely and that we really need those resources to meet our educational mission.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
I would have to agree. I would have to have all the facts regarding past and present funding for various things, see the success of those, and weigh all the various factors in that particular purchase.
Okay, thank you. Bryn?
So we are one of the highest funded districts per student head. And I, at the end of the day, always want to support kids and education. And I think that before we go ask for more money, we need to look at how we are spending our tax dollars today, and if there are things that we can do to reallocate, spend towards things that impact the bottom line for our students, for their success in the classroom, and that their test scores go up. Specifically, we have the township is going through, Bloomfield Township is going through a master plan change, new strategic plan. There's an opportunity there to look at the Parks and Recreation service that today is offered by the school district, and there are taxpayers who feel that that would be better serviced by the township, and I think that that's something we should explore before we go asking for more money.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan?
So the sinking fund, it really applies to safety and security and to fixing any types of repairs that we need at our buildings. We actually looked at the sinking fund recently. There was a push to increase it this last time, and I was on a committee that looked over the bond book combined with the sinking fund book, and our committee decided to leave it the same until the bond work was done so that we could see where we were at. But with safety and security and with the buildings that we have, it may or may not be necessary to increase the funding. We want to maintain the investment that we've made in these beautiful buildings, and it is possible that there may need to be an increase, but it's something that you really do need to dig into at the time to see where the buildings are at and get all the data to make those types of decisions.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start with Yvonne on this one. And can we make this a 30-second? Of course. Okay. Do you feel confident that this school board election will be conducted in a free and fair manner?
Yes.
Okay. Bryn?
Yes, I do.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Should have made it 15 seconds. Jason?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll start with Bryn on this one. And this gives you a little chance to be a little creative. So if you had the power to implement one new policy after elected, what would it be and why?
So I think we need to support our frontline workers, teachers, paras, bus drivers, reading specialists, staff. I think we need culture change in this district, as I stated before, that comes in the form of improved communication and transparency, not just for parents, but also for staff who work here. And a way to, have action beyond our beautifully verbalized, put together initiatives that we have is we need action, and we can do that by increasing pay and also having additional full-time employment allotments for those reading specialists and paras in our schools. And at the end of the day, those things will help our children.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan?
Sure. Obviously, this is a theoretical question, as we're one of 7. So I'm going to go, since it's near impossible, I'm going to go to a little bit farther. I'm going to say that if I had the power to implement one new policy, it would be to fully fund special education in the state of Michigan. We are often robbing Peter to pay Paul in an effort to be equitable to our students that need more funding, more time, more things to make them as successful as they can be. And with the help of the state in fully funding those areas, I think we could be even more successful.
Okay, Jason?
Yeah, it is truly a magic wand question, and I think we'd all, if we could wave a magic wand, would say give more money to directly impact our teachers and students to go directly to the educational mission. Looking at it from a policy perspective, though, if you could change one policy, I think, and this goes to the importance of the strategic plan, I think what would trickle down across the board everywhere is for any policy that the school board puts out or that the district puts out that impacts curriculum or the educational instruction, there needs to be an impact statement. We need to know that who that curricular change is going to impact, how is it going to impact them, and that then gives us the accountability at the end of the day to be able to tell the community, hey, here's the reason why we made this change, here's why we made this policy decision or choice, and if it doesn't work out, you know who to go back to talk to about the issue and to allow it to evolve and change. We currently don't have that, and I think most of our legislatures do, and I'm surprised that it's not a core piece of any policy decision making.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
As Mr. Abel said, anything we do probably is going to, we have to wave the magic wand and find some more money. But one thing that popped into my head, having talked to different district teachers in the district, in the lower levels, they feel like their classes are really crowded. And I've talked to some that say they have 29, 30 kids in their class. And as you go up the ladder, it's not, the student-teacher ratio is better. But I think it's counterproductive to have that many students in one classroom. So that would be my ideals, to have nice small class sizes. This is what's attractive about private schools.
Okay, thank you. All right, this one kind of goes back to the board's role. And part of the board's role is to approve expenditures. In particular, tell us about your feeling about the board's role in deciding about educational material, and what is your position on book banning, if you can roll that all in. And we're going to start with Jonathan.
I think that as a board, we hire a superintendent who hires a team of administrators. I consider those administrators and the teachers that are involved in the decision-making process for the curriculum, the materials that support that curriculum, to be the experts in that curriculum. And when they bring those matters to the board for change, obviously look over the information, look over which experts agree with the information. With regard to parents potentially being involved in that decision-making process, I think parents can make a decision for their own child, and then parents who may be experts in that field could have some input, but I tend to defer to the expertise of our educators and administrators.
Thank you. Jason?
As John said, as a school board or any executive, you really defer to the experts. And I'm certainly not an expert in educational theory, but I know enough to ask questions and to listen carefully. And so I think the role of the board is to ask those questions, to ask hard questions of the administration to make sure that when they're exercising their expertise, and we do have a lot of experts in this district, that the board understands it and agrees with it. And if they don't, ask questions and find out why. And at the end of the day, you should be happy to be overruled as long as everyone understands the reason behind the decisions that are being made. Because if something's being done or decided in a black box, that's a recipe for disaster from a communication standpoint, from a positive cultural standpoint. Everyone should be part of that discussion, but at the end of the day, we have to defer to our experts.
Thank you. Yvonne?
Yes, I agree, there has to be discussion, and perhaps in that discussion, coming forward with a statement about what is acceptable in the school environment and what is not. And having that delineated would eliminate a lot of animosity and confusion, et cetera, among the ranks. So I think that would be a good step. Have a joint group of people make that definition and then see if the books abide by that definition.
Okay, thank you. Bryn?
So research tells us that when parents partner with the teacher in the classroom, that kids do better. So I fully support that. However, I also understand parents' desire for their children to encounter age-appropriate content. The reality is that today's children have unprecedented access to information through the internet. The question is not if they will learn about LGBTQI, race, ethnicity, or discrimination, but when. Ignoring these issues will not prevent children from encountering them online, through their peers, or in their social circles. Instead of shunning controversial topics or succumbing to the culture wars, we have an opportunity to take a proactive approach to educating our children to be critical thinkers. Historically, suppressing books and/or information has proven ineffective and in some cases harmful. If a parent wants to pull their child out of a lesson, I do support that.
Okay, thank you. The next question, we're going to make this a 30-second question. Please tell us who is endorsing your candidacy, and if you're supporting each other, that would be if that could be part of your answer too as well. And we're going to start with Jason.
So far, I've been endorsed by the Birmingham Bloomfield Democratic Club, the West Bloomfield Lakes Democratic Club, and the Bloomfield Hills Education Association.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
I don't have a, I don't know what to call it, official endorsement, but I have been approached by somebody in the community who wants to support the campaign because he agrees with me.
Okay, thank you. Bryn?
I do not have any official endorsements, although I have sat in front of various groups as in an effort to get, my stance on things out there, my message out there.
Okay. Jonathan?
Supported by the Birmingham Bloomfield Democrats as well as the Bloomfield Hills Education Association, and I am supporting Michelle Southward's candidacy, and I was also supporting Sivakumar's candidacy. However, he just took a new job and is going to take him out of the state, and it's unfortunate, but he just won't have the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question, we're going to start with Yvonne. And American Academy of Pediatricians recommends middle and high school students start no earlier than 8:30 a.m. Do you think Bloomfield Hills schools should make more of an effort to adjust the start times to align this with this recommendation?
Yes, that has been an issue through my whole career, and not too many things more sleepy in the morning than a high school student. So I would have to agree, yes, they should make that adjustment.
Okay, Bryn?
Yes, I do agree with that. I know our district has taken steps to make that happen in previous years, and now it seems that we've stepped back to an earlier start time for high school students. One thing that would have to be addressed is the bus driver shortage. And I think if we dedicate our culture to be more inclusive and to target the right things, that we will have increased bus drivers that would make that possible.
Okay, Jonathan?
It's a very complex question. Or it's not complex. I agree with, the experts that say that schools, for our teenagers to start later. The reason it's complex, and from personal experience, I have a daughter at the high school. She was one of the first students to get the later start time. I think we moved it back about a half an hour. However, the bus at our house still came at the same exact time as it did, and she showed up, and she got to school at 7:20 and had to sit on the bus for 15 minutes until the doors opened. So if we're going to do it, it's got to be done right in a way that's equitable for all students. In fact, they moved the time back this year, and she actually gets on the bus later, potentially, I suppose, because they rerouted the buses. Maybe she gets on last now, but there's a lot of factors that go into it. But I'm all for it if possible.
Okay. Jason?
Whenever we make policy decisions that impact our children, I think we need to look at the best research. Here we have both the NIH and the American Academy of Pediatrics saying the same thing, and they've said it for years. But again, we need to look at it from a impact level. So when making the decision to roll back the time 10 minutes or push it forward, we need to reach out to kind of all the stakeholders on this, including the scientists, including the teachers, including the staff, including transportation, and find out what their interests are, how they're impacted. So that way, when a decision is made, it's effectively communicated to everyone. Everyone knows that their voice has been heard. Everyone knows all the issues that go into the decision making, so that at the end of the day, if it needs to change, you know who to go back to talk to.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, we are going to start with Bryn. And this one concerns the International Academy. And what should be done to help the International Academy become financially sustainable?
So I think the IA High School is struggling with problems with that because there's more competition. We have neighboring districts who are opening up IA schools, and so we need to do something about that. I'm not an expert in that area, and I do think that we have very smart, capable people to look into the issue and figure out what to do. The question really does become, how can we help support them so that they can continue in their mission, and at the same time, how do we support the remaining of our students within our own district and help their outcomes as well?
Okay, Jonathan?
So Bloomfield Hills Schools owns the building, and we are stewards or the fiduciaries for their budget. I think the difficulty we have is trying to figure out how to use the funds of the students that we send to the IA versus the funds that come in from other districts in order to properly outfit that school with equipment, renovations, all those things. When it's kind of owned by all the schools that send kids to the district. There have been some talks about realigning how the school is set up, but I think we've gotten pushback from some of the other international academies that are within the consortium. So,
Okay.
Again, complicated.
Jason?
Anytime you have a consortium program where you have a whole bunch of districts coming together to work at one school, it's always a balancing act. It requires mediation facilitation between the different stakeholders of the different schools to try to come up with a solution that resolves the problem. As John said, it's a very difficult one. There's a lot of different stakeholders, and so it's a difficult conversation to have, but it's one I think we must have, and I think it's one that we need to come to the table, and everyone needs to kind of understand what our commitment has been to the IA program, which is a fantastic program. I've known a lot of students who have thrived at it over the years, and it has amazing teachers. But it's a program that has a lot of issues, like where you have teachers from different districts who work at the IA getting paid substantially different amounts of money. And resolving that, along with resolving how tuition funds go to the IA, is a critical question that we need to ask. We need to ask as part of the next strategic plan.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
It's very, very complex. It is just an exemplary place for kids to go to school, very desirable. And I would agree that a consortium approach would slow down that process. But much research would have to go into how it came about, how it has sustained, and what its future is if we don't do A, B, or C. So again, this comes back to finances for the school. Perhaps, I don't know if more federal funding would be available to them for that purpose. And then the negotiations with the other districts to see if they can come to terms as far as those negotiations and the funding.
Okay, thank you. So our next question, we're going to start with Jonathan. And your opinion on should candidates for school board be required to disclose any conflicts of interest that they have? And what would constitute a conflict that would disqualify a candidate?
I obviously have one conflict of interest. My wife has been a teacher in the district since 2005. Potentially, she's the reason that I'm sitting here as an incumbent as well, because she's taught probably 2,000, 2,500 students over those 25 years, and because she does a good job, people like her, they remember her name, and then when people show up at the ballot, they oh, I remember that name. So again, when it comes to that, I mean, school board members don't negotiate the contract, and then when it comes to the voting on the contract, that school board members abstain if that were the case. As far as something that would disqualify, I haven't really thought about what that would be, and I'm not going to make something up now, I guess. Thanks.
Thank you. Jason?
Conflicts are always a really tricky question, because I can't imagine there'd be anyone on any school board who doesn't have a conflict of interest, whether it be your child's in the district or whether it be you have a spouse in the district. My wife currently is a part-time employee of the district. She works as a family ambassador. If anything came up with regard to the school board that involved the communications department, anything impacting her salary compensation, responsibility, or her chain of command, I'd refrain from voting and taking part in that. But I don't think there's ever there's a possibility of someone wanting to take on this position without wanting to achieve or accomplish something for the school district. I can't imagine that there's not impact of being a board member on just knowing someone's in the school board, impact on their students and everyone else. So it's just critical to be cognizant and understanding that these conflicts exist, and do your best to avoid and mitigate them, because it's impossible to avoid them. And you really don't want a board where the board members aren't conflicted, because that means they're probably not engaged and interested.
Okay. And Yvonne?
Conflict of interest, I would think, could come in so many forms. And as Mr. Abel said, it's be necessary for the person on the board to take the initiative to evaluate the situation and determine if there is in fact a conflict, and then excuse himself from that vote. And he mentioned a couple of the having children in the district being a possible conflict. I own a construction, no, I don't. If I own a construction company and the school wants to build an addition, then, that would clearly be a conflict of interest. So that kind of evaluation, case by case, would be necessary.
Okay, Bryn?
So conflicts of interest typically involve that you're getting a financial gain based on the decision that's happening. And so many of us who sit here at the table have children in the district. We have, this is our community that we live in. We have friends and family here. And so just because there's an appearance of a conflict of interest doesn't mean that there necessarily is. Having said that, appearances are incredibly important. And we always, as board members, should be operating in a way that, that we have our fiduciary capacity in mind in all the decisions that we're making, and that if there's a need to raise a conflict of interest, everyone should. And sometimes you need to withdraw from a vote, even not because there actually is one, but just for the appearance of one.
Okay. So, this one kind of lets us know a little bit more about you, and it doesn't necessarily, it's what would be your top 3 goals in 2025, and not necessarily, if you're on the school board, but, maybe if you want to throw personal goals in there, that's fine too, but I think this will give us a chance to let us know a little bit about yourself. We're going to start with Jason.
Top 3 goals. Well, I'm going to focus on the school district because my focus is really on this campaign for the next couple months. The first goal would be to collaborate with Superintendent West and his administration to establish SMART goals and a strategic plan that is set up to enhance educational outcomes. Second would be, we talked about this before, I think we need to have a renewed focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We talked about diversity on the equity side. My fear is that too frequently equity becomes a drive to what can't we do, as opposed to making sure that the opportunities are there for everyone to be successful and to achieve and to putting the necessary support in to make that work. You see too many times where the answer to we can't find equity is to take away a program, and that just can't work. That can't be a part of our district. And lastly, I'm always been dedicated to student safety and well-being, both in terms of security of our facilities, which are being improved even now, and also on mental health, which is really critical with the anxious generation. Thank you.
Yvonne?
Number 1 would be safety. To my knowledge, there has not been a problem in this district with that, but I have been aware of other districts where, very close to us, where that was not the case. And so having learned from other people's experience, I would hope that the district could consider that situation and come up with a plan prior to needing it. And then second would be teachers' rights and parents' rights. Kind of, those are in the news all the time, and sometimes they conflict, but trying to be a voice of reason for that situation. Listen, debate, and come to a conclusion about what each finds acceptable in the school. And then curriculum content, depending, the thing that comes to mind is, I'm not sure how to say it, presenting people in the best light, each person in the best light that they can.
Okay.
And,
Thank you.
oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Bryn?
So my top 3, one is the culture change that I've already talked about, evidenced by increased pay, additional staff in our buildings. I think we need to improve our test scores, and how we do that is increased support and more rigorous academics. We need more demanding elementary literacy and math curriculum. We need some form of program track for gifted students. We need accountability with learning services on curriculum effectiveness. We need to decrease our classroom sizes, stop the alarming trend of denying special education services to students in our district. I would like to see free tutoring for all and group study sessions. And then we need to look at our spending efficiencies. I think there's opportunity for us to look at the central office, to look at how many employees we have comparable to similar-sized districts that have better test scores than us. I think we should eliminate fluff spending and find creative solutions so that we can stop operating the Parks and Rec Department for the township, and that we can support those things like Bowers Farm.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan?
I think onboarding a new board member or board members will be a top priority for 2025. And then from there, really getting into the start of the strategic plan, which encompasses more than curriculum. It encompasses, and our test scores, it encompasses facilities, extracurriculars, sports, everything on down, and like Mr. Abel said, putting in SMART goals to track our success in our strategic plan.
Okay, thank you. The next one, I think we're just gonna, it's pretty much a yes or no, so we give them 15 seconds. We're gonna start with Yvonne. Have you been endorsed by Moms for Liberty?
No.
Bryn?
Absolutely not.
Jonathan?
No.
Jason?
Absolutely not.
All right, thank you. And I think this will be our last one. And this is, kind of like how we play in the sandbox together. And we're going to start with Bryn. How would you hold yourself and other board members accountable to stay in your lane, support the superintendent, and not micromanage?
So I think it's a board member's role that, we support the superintendent and that we set goals and review the superintendent and, annually to see how they're doing. I fully understand my lane and that we are not supposed to get involved with the day-to-day operations of teachers, staff, or the central office, and I fully will respect that. I do think that the board as a whole, though, can set the stage for if we want culture change or we want increased accountability towards things, that we can set the stage for that by saying the superintendent, that's what our expectations are for the superintendent. And then when we take feedback from parents, I don't think it's appropriate to not respond. I think we listen to our constituents and go back to the superintendent and find out, that we've had these things raised and, what is happening so that there's accountability there.
Okay, Jonathan?
I think being a board member, there's a line, and sometimes there's a gray area, and whether you've been on the board for a long time or you're new to the board, figuring out where that gray area is and where the line is sometimes a tough road to hoe, I guess. But when I become aware that the line has been crossed, I like to have those conversations one-to-one and in person, and directly with the individual. And I'd like that to be done with me as well, if I'm the person that happens to be in that gray area. And I think it makes for a better board when we don't have those conversations sitting at this table. Those types of things happen. People get passionate about certain areas, and I think the conversation
Jason?
With any organization, but especially school districts and school boards, I think it's really critical for board members to have a strategic plan for the district, to have policies in place that provide kind of guardrails so that you can defer to your experts, you can defer to your administration, and know that they're going to kind of go within those guardrails to protect themselves, protect the teachers, protect the students. And so you ask questions, You ask critical questions, you hold people accountable, but the first thing to do is to set what standards that you expect everyone to subscribe to. It's really an issue of tone and culture at the top, and a good school board establishes a positive tone and growth mindset at the top and lets that trickle down, and then you listen to your experts, you give kind of guidance in your strategic plan and policies, and you let them run from there, and at the end of the day, you ask the questions and you hold them accountable. Did they achieve what they were asked to do?
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
Agreed. If people's roles are clearly defined, is their role on the school board and their interaction with all the various other interested parties, I think it would be easier for there to be less collision with activities and opinions. So to know what's expected of you and to fulfill that obligation.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for all your questions, and thank you to the audience for all the questions. That concludes our time for questions. The candidates will now be given 1 minute to make a closing statement in the reverse order. So we're going to begin with Jonathan Van Gemert. Go ahead.
I've been at this for 3 years and 8 months. The learning curve is steep. The first year is a whirlwind. And then in this district, there are things that pop up along the way that kind of slow down the progress towards things that you had hoped to accomplish while you were here. I think the reason that people may want to vote for myself and for Michelle Southward is that we've been here for that time. We've learned, and I think you've seen a steady board that works well together, and I think I want to see that continue for our new superintendent so that he can accomplish the goals that he wants to accomplish.
Okay, thank you very much. Brent?
I hope that you found tonight insightful and that you learned a little bit about who I am and what I value, and that I'm not afraid to talk about difficult topics, that I'm open, transparent, and willing to work hard, and that I'm an advocate for others. As I talked, I think our school district desperately needs change. I think we need to better support our frontline workers in the school building so they feel respected, valued, safe, and empowered to do their job. I think we need more counselors and more social workers in our schools to help support our kids. If we want better test scores, we've got to get serious about the support that we offer. Again, I think we need free tutoring for all. We need more rigorous curriculum, including math and reading at the elementary level. Beyond that, I hope that everyone walks out of here feeling comfortable to reach out and have further discussion with me. And I would be grateful if you vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yvonne?
After teaching for 44 years and living in the district for 40 years, having my kids go through this district from K through 12, being steeped in the multi-ethnic culture of the area via teaching ESL, coordinating 2 different ethnic festivals that the school gave back when. This has been where I live and who I am. So in that regard, I think I would be very effective in understanding the situation within the school district and being able to respond to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
Thank you. As a practicing attorney for over 23 years, I'm trained to be an advocate, to listen, to ask questions, to problem solve, especially on complex matters. And I have extensive experience establishing and executing strategic plans and mediating between different stakeholders of diverse interests. I think this is really a critical experience to have on the board right now because we have a brand new superintendent and strategic plan revisions on the horizon. So the choices that this next board makes are really going to resonate and echo through the district every layer for the next 10 years. I'm genuinely looking forward to the opportunity to be involved in this incredible opportunity. And I think it's really critical to recognize that we got to break the inertia that stops growth mindset, that stops change. We really need to look forward to what can we accomplish and find the best ways to do it, and work with our administration, work with our staff, work with our teachers and community to make that happen. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, all of you, and I know from experience that it takes a lot to put your name out there, get on the ballot, and talk to people and make it happen. I appreciate all of you for participating in this, not only into this forum tonight, but in the process. And the League of Women Voters would like to thank the audience, the candidates, and Bloomfield Hills Schools TV for making this forum possible. This presentation is copyrighted 2024 by the League of Women Voters. All rights are reserved. So, any recording may only be shown in its entirety. So, if you have any further information, nonpartisan information about these candidates, visit vote411.org. Rebroadcast times of this forum will be on the League of Women Voters website. The League of Women Voters is funded by contributions from concerned businesses and citizens. Our membership is open to men and women over the age of 16. So I remind everybody to be sure to vote on November 5th. And thank you, everybody, for participating.